Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 31, 53, and Doubleshot number 3047. These two trades here are basically one big thing in common. They're both written by really good writers. Who, this one, he's still writing this character. The other one, he's not. This is actually final trade for this run. So we have the continuation of Jed MacKay's Moon Knight under Vengeance of the Moon Knight. Yes, for some strange reason, Marvel decided to end Moon Knight Volume 9 and restart it as Vengeance of the Moon Knight. I'm like, why would you just pick this name for? Why couldn't you pick, well, you couldn't pick Mark Spector Moon Knight because Mark Spector's not in the first half of this book. No, he's not. Given the fact that the last time they had this volume, it lasts 10 issues. This lasted for 9. This book contains the first 4 issues of this volume. Of course, written by Jed MacKay. By the way, that is a Moon Knight, but it's not the Moon Knight. So, excuse me, as Alejandro Cabaquillo is the artist here. So the first 2 issue covers are done by David Finch. Yes, he still does covers. He does first 2 issues. 3 and 4 is David Powderer, which I believe this is the first David Finch has done a cover for Moon Knight since Volume 3. So yeah, this amazing cover, that's David Finch. So we open up with Reese talking to a therapist about what happened with Mark Spector, who, by the way, at this point is dead at the events of the previous volume. So they have a funeral. Basically, it's a minute mission. At this point, it's comprised of her, Reese, who's a vampire, Tigra, who is Mark Spector's girlfriend, Hunter's Moon, who's the other fist of Kusasu, and 8-Ball. So there's stuff here with Grimm. Of course, for some reason, they can't contact his wife. For some reason, I'm like, what? You couldn't look up in Mark Spector's phone if he had one? So, then you have Tigra basically hugging Ben Grimm. Of course, all about Castle. I'm a vampire. Sorry. He's Hebrew, of course. And then we have visiting him at the Mission by Doctor Strange, Clea, looks like Tony Stark, Mockingbird, Hawkeye, Captain America. And the guy in the suit, I'm not sure who it is. Could be anybody. So then basically we just have the whole thing. Reese contains Midnight Mission, no problem, but not Mark Spector. And then we have Mr. Silk and Mr. Smile. These weird guys who just kill people. And then they're attacked by Hunter's Moon, the other fist, per se, of Kusasu. So, they take them on. Which one is Moon Knight? Nobody, of course, basically, it's like... So, they flash back to possibly, like... And it's like, where's Black Spectre? And, of course, she's looking for him, of course. Yeah, and, of course, Reese has to calm down. It's like, not Mark wanted. It's like, this isn't really what mattered, what Mark wanted. He's dead. I'm only trying to get the man who killed him. So, they had this. Of course, they go off. And then for some reason, somebody attacks 8-Ball, smashing his globe, revealing his face, and this mysterious person throws him through a window. Who did this 8-Ball? But it's Moon Knight, except it's not Moon Knight. Tiger points out, though, yeah, he's not Moon Knight. then Tiger basically gets actually like, ooh, the werewoman. Of course, yeah. Now, who this is, of course... By the way, it's pointed out that she tries sniffing out who this person is, but then this guy throws pepper up her nose in order to throw out the scent. So of course they leave, and of course the Moon Knight basically like Midnight Mission, good, work together, and then he starts to wreck the whole Midnight Mission. He goes to about the house. It's like, yeah, kill you all. Yes. And then we have the Moon Knight, not the actual one. Then we go to Borrow No Name. So, and of course, yeah, Moon Knight possibly bring up. There is a reference here basically of Spider-Man, but he's not here. And then we have, oh my gosh, it's the frickin' Loader. Plus a few other people who just randomly show up in this book. Yes, the Looter, my least favorite Spider-Man villain. So yeah, they basically battle the Midnight Mission, which of course they beat them, and so they try to figure out who this fake Moon Knight is because he's not Mark Spector. And of course they go to Chinatown. And by issue 4, we find out who this person is. So then we have basically, then we go basically where he died back in issue 30. The previous one was technically, this is the 34th issue of this run. So they go in there, they look around where Black Spectre is, they can't find him. And then of course basically, oh yeah, then of course basically like, everything to him, and of course, then they proceed to fight the fake Moon Knight, Huntress Moon and Tigra. And then we find out who the person is. Who is the fake Moon Knight? It is the Shroud. You're like, what? Who the heck is the Shroud? He's basically a D-list character who basically, like, I think like prior to this, he was last featured in Mark Waid's Daredevil. Like, him being Moon Knight basically is like, what? Yeah, and, well, we'll get more of this later, but this is really good. I enjoy this. 10 out of 10. This was awesome. Next up we have is the final trade of Joshua Williamson's run for Green Arrow. This is Green Arrow Against the Wall, which contains issues 13 and 16, a story from Green Arrow 17, which is the 350th issue of the comic book, along with the annual number 1. I'm still not calling it a 2024 annual. It's like DC Comics, they can't put numbering. Like, put the numbering in the damn annuals. This is the first hand in this volume. There you go. Boom. Solved. So we have Dr. Williams, obviously, with Amanda Clay Nuppin and Shaisky, with Phil Holster, Andy Parks, and Renee Coy on the cover artwork. So we open up with Arrow Island, where basically Oliver's in bed with Black Canary, presumably after you had a round of sex. And then we have like a sleepover party. We have all the Arrow family there. This, of course, after it's the previous volume. And, of course, you have Black and wake up like, oh, Oliver's not in his bed. And, of course, they get dressed. And, of course, they... Of course, everyone's like, where's Oliver? And then we cut to the Hall of Order. Yes, the Hall of Order run by the Peacemaker. And, of course, like, what do you want, Peacemaker? And, of course, takes pictures of the Justice League because he didn't want Waller to ruin it. And, of course, yes, for some reason, he gives Sanctuary to Waller. So, basically, we have Bell Rev North. We have Cindy. We have Sin. I think it's Sin. Yeah. Sin and Roy break into Bell Rev North, where they run into Cheshire. Actually, it's not Sin. It's actually Leanne. Yep, so they break out. Of course, Roy gets a kiss from Cheshire. Like, ooh, what was that about? They can let me die. You two are so cute. What did I put together, Harper? Okay, my turn. What? He's brought back by Oliver, who's now wearing an Argus. I think it's basically an Argus-themed Green Arrow suit. It's like, yep. So apparently he does not want to be Green Arrow. So then he doesn't need his help, and then of course he kicks his former sidekick, who is Red Arrow. I think it's like Arsenal. So he kicks him. And, of course, basically says, Oliver doesn't want to be Green Arrow. And then his son, Connor, becomes Green Arrow. And I love the font they used for him as Green Arrow. This is from Volume 2 of Green Arrow. When Chuck Dixon wrote the book, that was the font for the artwork for the book. I'm actually quite surprised they used that. I wonder how... I should probably ask Chuck Dixon about that, how he feels about that. Because that would be really cool if I could hear his thoughts about that. So... And then we go straight into the events of Absolute Power, with the whole thing of like, well, Waller has basically manipulated the media to plant false stories. The heroes have turned bad. That's how like they really have not. And, oh, their power taken away by the frickin' Amazos. Yep. So, yeah, that's basically the last 3 issues basically we have in here prior to issue 14. It is, simply put, basically what the Arrow family was up to their defense of, well, Ab's power. So the Arrow, basically, you have Roy, Cheshire, Leanne, and Mia Dearden, who's basically Speedy, break into a facility. Well, they open the facility is a new Arrow Cave, which I'm sure that the artist himself probably took inspiration from the Batcave. But yeah, new Arrow Cave even have like would totally disobey Batman's orders. And then we see the Arrow car, which is so cool seeing that again. I think this is one of the first time this car has been seen since Volume 3, when all of it decided to basically destroy the car because reasons. So then we have the aeroplanes. Yes, he flies his damn things. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, when was the last time Oliver had these damn things? Well, he had that back, I believe, at some point prior to his book, because Volume 2, he never had any of his vehicles. Volume 3, never did. He had it back in the 70s, and rumored he crashed his plane in a mountain someplace. So, yeah, basically you have all working with some stuff. Basically, it's like work with Mazos, and they go Death Valley, where they open up basically, so the Arrow family, they open up basically this room where it's basically where apparently Ivo is. So he's apparently been mutated, and his arm's been destroyed. And then apparently they find the Tomorrow Woman. You're probably thinking, who the heck is this? Well, she's basically, you can think of her as Red Tornado's sister, because she appeared a couple times over the years. So that's simply the reason for it. So they take her down, but then they have more stuff with Mazos. And then we find that the box, oh my gosh, the box. Yeah, Williamson brought back this box again, which was last seen back at the end of the previous line of the book. When we opened the box, there was frickin' nothing in the box. Yeah. God, that's what it revealed the, like, yeah, here's the thing. Now, Colin County Jackson lays in basically revealed this box, which was nothing, except they didn't set it up. I think that was said by Ben Percy. And of course, Arrow family continues to deal with the Tomorrow Woman. Of course, they finally free her from her control, and then they break into another. And then of course they go and they take up. And of course you have a follow basically Ivo go to Gomorrah. Yes, Gomorrah, the country that was basically ran by Superboy's boyfriend. Well, John Cannon's boyfriend's mom, which of course Waller murdered her. Oh yeah, and the country turned to prison for reasons. They go find out Waller's forces, and they fight out basically these. And of course, they have Oliver basically turning against Waller at this point. So yeah, he turns on them and goes back with his family. They have father and son basically team each other to fight this one, and then we mentioned stuff related to Earth 3, and then this Amazo's dumped off, and then we have the Hall of Order, which they go in, and supposedly and of course don't resist. Yep, and of course they're arrested. Not a chance, Ivo. I need you to show me something. And of course show what they mean as the robots, and then of course basically he like hiding in the shadows, and it's Black Canary, Zatanna, and the female Dr. Light, which is apparently take place after the Superman issues. Pretty bird. Yep. So, yeah. So then they disappear again. Then, of course, basically a bigger chat, and it would lead into issue 17, which is basically after the events of Absolute Power, where Peacemaker's finally taken on by the Arrow family. Him and the Field Peacemaker. And he says, Mommy. Yep, he's taken out Waller, basically doesn't remember any of the identities. Well, that was until the Secret Six book, which apparently she does. She broke out. And then we cut to Just Like Walter, presumably after he reformed Just Like, of course, at first everybody's like against him. And then, like, they go back to status quo, but, you know, he is wrong. But everybody forgives him, no problem. And he's accepted back Just Like, no problem. And Then we have like intermeds, which is basically inter-gang. Basically, it's Morgan Edge. It's Bruno Magnum, who's taken on by Green Arrow. And then we lead into the Green Arrow Annual, which is basically Oliver babysitting kids, possibly during a time when he was on the island. And then we have stuff when he was basically during the Golden Age, Golden Silver Age as Green Arrow, prior to getting his beard. And I think it's presumed it's in the future, where he's got all his kids there. And the stuff about Star City. And of course they reference the New 52 Green Arrow. Yes, this look. And who his kids are? Presumably his kids. And then of course basically then he has the full Arrow family here with Emiko, his sister. And it's like, yeah, this guy is like, what do you mean he's walking? If he did nothing wrong, why do you argue with us? Because your person's like Arrow's firing. Alibi. You're gonna need a doctor. Yep. So did the bitch take him down? Well, it's not really revealed here. And then we show off, believe it or not, it looks like they show off like pre-Flashpoint Justice League America. I did not expect to see that. You know, I could tell that. The way not just Superman, Batman looks, but the way Wonder Woman's designed, because Wonder Woman's got currently in the Rebirth book. Still does. Oh, and also, we have Oliver, the way he looked at the end of Volume 2 prior to his death. And of course, like, we have all the stuff basically over the years, including possibly seeing Count Vertigo. There's a bit of Apocalypse, when Vertigo became Ambassador Vertigo. Also, there's Commandi in the past. Seattle in an old feud, which is a reference to the Ben Purvis book, which is good. Surviving the Source Store. And then we have them going to have a chili. And then we have where they get their outfits about Firestarter, and that's it. Very interesting the fact that they referenced Seattle, because during Ben Percy's run, Seattle became Star City, where it kind of kicked off with some guy blowing up the Seattle Needle, taking it out. Now, as for why they transformed Seattle into Star City, I have no idea, despite the fact, here's the weird thing. Star City did technically exist. And this book is just, well, I love the fact they brought up all the stuff related to Green Arrow, all the stuff that I've had a problem with Green Arrow over the years, where I wouldn't say the annual fixed errors with the continuity how he was written, because my overall biggest problem in Green Arrow over the past decade is its inconsistent writing. It's like every time he shows up in a comic book, he's a completely different character. Or like, he shows up, his character shows up, and anything in previous I wrote, completely ignored. It's like, I get the fact it's a fresh start, but could you not ignore what happened in the previous issue? And I like the fact they referenced Ben Percy's run, because I was kind of surprised. Even a little bit of New 52 era. Nothing much about basically which run they're referencing anyways, because they just show off his costume. Excuse me. I think this is Williamson just acknowledging that possibly every original Green Arrow is canon, presumably in a very linear timeline. Despite the fact it was revealed in Stargirl that I think it was Stargirl Summer Special by Emiko, where Oliver told her that the reason why he was in the Golden Age as part of a Monday retcon, because she thought he was ripping off that Golden Age Green Arrow, even though it was actually him, via time travel. Then how do you explain the Silver Age Green Arrow? That's a good question indeed. But this run was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed every issue that Josh Williamson wrote. And if you're curious, who took over for Joshua Williamson after this run wrapped up? It's a writer who I personally was overall familiar with. Yeah, it's one of like two books where DC picked a writer to succeed these popular writers in these books. And, like, now Williamson, now here's the thing. This book was supposed to be a 12-issue maxi series. And then over time, because the book was selling really well, they basically agreed to be an ongoing series. And presumably it was going to last 16 issues. And my guess is because it still sold very well, because people miss Green Don't Have a Comic Book, that's kind of what happened there. And now putting this behind me, so next time basically I do a Green Arrow comic book, it's probably going to be, well, now, every time a Green Arrow comic now, it's probably going to be for the next writer. No longer Williamson. Now, did they announce who basically took over for him? 17, like I mentioned, was basically deemed to be the 350th issue of the comic book. Williamson just did the opening story. The second story was by Chris Candon, who I believe was the succeeding writer. Yeah, he was to go for the book right after. Right afterwards. Now, did this guy basically do anything for DC Comics part of this one? Well, the only comic he noteworthy did was he did Harley Quinn Black, White, and Redder. Yes. And apparently he worked at Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, and Oni. Now, when I heard this guy, I saw his name on the solicits. I'm like, who? Who the heck is this guy? Yeah, oh yeah, I think I did meet this guy at Comic-Con this year. Yeah, I didn't have anything to sign. I think I did chat with him briefly. I believe he's the current writer, not only in this book, but also Ultimate Wolverine. Yes, it was in May Carolina I met him. I didn't mention him. I personally never heard of him before prior to doing this book. I was kind of surprised. So, I don't know how this guy is. I haven't heard anything about the run by him. Williamson himself did an excellent job of this book. And did he succeed in bringing back basically love for Green Arrow? Oh, yes. I think he did. Now, I think he had a lot of fun. Now, why did he leave this book after only 17 issues? The reason? Well, the reason I have heard, burnout. Okay, so, he did Crypt of Shadows. He did the 2 one-shots, that one. He's going to do this book, per se. He's doing Ultimate Wolverine. He's done a few different books, but he's only doing like 2 books now. He worked on some 2000 AD, Black Book, Brutal Death, Creep Show. Yeah, so basically he's kind of a horror-ish writer. Yeah. But not really much else to say about this book. Like, right now, basically, I'll talk about one book by Josh Williamson. That being, well, just Superman. And that's it. Oh yeah, the other girl was Arrowlet. I forgot she was there. Josh Williamson himself, there's no doubt the guy is awesome. Yeah, he loves these characters. Like, reading this book, I can definitely tell he had a lot of love for Green Arrow. A lot of love. He basically made a lot of respect. Also, I should point out, though, when Phil hosted his cover, he basically got back in the classic Valkyrie beard instead of the goatee he had during the Van Persie book. So, as of currently, you can just find him on Superman. Yeah, just Superman. Why just Superman? Well, right now, I've already finished up his most last book I finished up for him was Batman and Robin, which was really good, by the way. Yes. And of course, I did review Dust Incorporated. I reviewed a lot of the stuff he did for DC Comics since he's been there. You're probably thinking, like, what have I not reviewed by him? This mission of Action Comics. I don't think I've covered these. I think I've covered those ones already. I'm looking right now. But I think I've reviewed like a lot of his run from DC Comics. I'd say probably Night Terrors. It's probably the only major thing left to go for him. There's also General Mills presents Justice League. There's that. But I don't think there's a lot of anything else for DC Comics stuff. Not really. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, I left my A-Rank convention party, join my former students, and explore dungeons. Okay, bye.